Hi, everyone. Welcome to session 2 of Founder Basecamp. Last week, we focused on idea validation, confirming that your solution actually addresses a real problem that people care about. Now, let's shift focuses and talk about go-to-market strategy. Today's goal is straightforward. You'll learn how to reach your first customer, craft messaging that resonates with those customers, and build a plan to effectively acquire those users. These are critical skills, whether you're pitching to investors or launching your own product. So today we'll have two presentations, followed by a Q&A where you can ask us some questions. So I'm super excited to introduce Gabin, founder of Focus Tree. Focus Tree is an app that helps you manage your screen time better, and he has been laser focused on user acquisition and growth, and he has extremely valuable insights into virality and consumer psychology. His experience building a product that users actually want and figuring out how to reach them is extremely relevant to everyone listening today. Gabon, thank you so much, and I'll hand it off to you.
Nice. Do you have is your presentation done, Dylan?
My presentation, my little thing already, but I'll do my presentation after yours if you'd like to start off.
Okay.
Yep.
Sounds good. Hi everyone. I'm Gabin. Thanks Dylan for the intro. To explain what we do is we build an app for students to help them get less distracted, be more productive, and improve their grades. And the idea is very simple. All students spend too much time on TikTok. We just created a timer which completely blocks other apps on your phone while you study, and then we gamified it a bit like Duolingo. Every time they focus, they receive a small tile, and they can combine tiles in a big, nice garden, which creates more motivation to come back to focus every day. So yeah, that's the basic idea behind Focus Tree. But yeah, I'm gonna start to explain a bit the history behind Focus Tree, so you can see that it was not that easy. It was not obvious. Like what we are right now is I never thought we would have that 3 years ago. So I just want to explain the process to show that it's okay and it's actually normal. And then I want to ask you what you guys are building. So I will ask a few questions in the chat, and then I want to think go to market of you guys and from like apply the technique we use at Focus Tree to your ideas, guys, to see how I can help. So yeah, that's the basic plan. So let's come back to Focus Tree. So we started in working on the idea in June 2022. Back then, we were quite bullish on Starknet because it was a layer 2 on Ethereum, and it was the best one according to us because it was a ZK rollup, and but it was very abstract. I'm not even sure there was a mainnet at the time, but yeah, we really believe the team was really strong and the vision was right. And the good thing is 3 years after, we still believe it is the case. Now the costs are really, really cheap. You have account abstraction and you have very fast transaction. You can subsidize the gas fees to your users. You can abstract the seed phrase. So to me, it's really one of the best infrastructure to build consumer-facing experiences. So yeah, back then with my co-founder, we wanted to build. We've seen the success of Steppen, and what was impressive to us is many people adopted healthier habits of walking every day because of financial incentives. And we knew it was a Ponzi, and for sure it was. But the interesting part is it actually made, for a few months, millions of people adopted better habits. And we found it fascinating, and we wanted to build a new kind of productivity app to use financial incentives in a more sustainable way to help people adopt better habits. So that's how it got started. 3 months after that, we launched the initial version of Focus Tree. Very quickly, what I did, so let's talk about go-to-market. We had no community back then. We just had a mobile app, and what it did is you could mint an NFT on the testnet. So it was very stupid. It would just mint a tree on the testnet back then. But we still managed to get 15K downloads. And the way I did it is um, I tried to meet a lot of founders, a lot of people inside the Starknet Foundation during those 3 months, and just to get to know them. And at the moment of the launch, what I did is I DM them, all of them, like maybe it was 50 people in Starknet back then. I just DM them like, please, we are launching, it's very important, please quote tweet. And I know it sounds stupid, but we got a lot of visibility. The timing was right, and we got, like I said, 15K new users in 1 week. So yeah, so I think it's a good way to launch a product. Is just to ask people to amplify your message. Keep in mind you cannot do that all the time. It's like you can do that, like maybe you can ask people one or twice a year. So yeah, just reserve that for your best launch. But the problem is, okay, they downloaded the app, they basically went through the onboarding, minted the NFT on the testnet, but that's it. It didn't do anything, so we had to build a thing. So based on this initial traction and community, we raised 250K pre-seed round. And then we started to actually build the actual first version of Focus Tree, which was a very, very basic focus timer. And we had to relaunch it 1 year later with the actual product. The way we did it this time was we created what we call garden. And basically a garden, you can think of it like a community, right? It's like a space where, like, let's say 100 people from the same community can come and build, they can put their tiles and build something. So what we did is we went to all, I think there were 20 to 30 projects on Starknet. We did call with all of them, and we convinced them like, hey guys, we want to create a unique collection of NFTs for your project. So we didn't ask for anything. We were like, hey, we want to give something to your community. And what we said is we only have 100 spots. And the fact that there was scarcity, and back then all projects, they had like 10K, 20K people in their Discord. So there was a lot of demand, very few spots. And in a matter of, so we created one NFT for each of those projects. So in total, it was like 30 NFTs maybe. And in 1 week, what we've done is we announced all the partnerships at the same time. So it created a lot of hype. But we only gave 100 spots to each of those community. So all users on Starknet were going from one Discord to the other to say, hey, can I get access to Focus Tree? And it created a lot of demand, a lot of frustration. But people were asking under the comments, invite code, and it created a lot of engagement. So again, we relaunched Focus Tree, the actual product this time, and I think we went to 10K daily active users at the time. So it was quite good because every day 10K people would focus, and we start with maybe 20K monthly active users. So yeah, I think one lesson to this launch is you can use, like, it's better to saturate one ecosystem than to launch to only do like a little launch that nobody hears. So the advantage we had is we knew everyone on Starknet, so we were able to saturate, like, everybody on Starknet during 1 week was talking about Focus Tree, and it was 10x more powerful than just having one project launch. So I think saturation of the ecosystem is really, really important. And if you can combine that with scarcity, is even better, because people get frustrated when you say there's something amazing happening and you're not part of it. People hate that and they want to do whatever it takes to be part of it. They talk about your project. So yeah, I think it worked well for us. And so that was in 2023, end of the year. And in 2024, in the summer, after this success in the Starknet ecosystem, we said, okay, we have this base of users, it's working well, but now we need to go through, like, Starknet users is a limited market. So we needed to expand to other ecosystem to have more users. So the way we did it is we say at the time there was Blast. I'm not sure if you know, guys, but it was a blockchain that had some hype at the time. And we said, okay, let's try to vampire attack this blockchain. So what we did is we tried to close projects on Blast, but the problem is we didn't know anyone there, and we were not able to saturate. Like we didn't really understand this ecosystem. We didn't take the time to really make sure we would saturate the ecosystem. So when we launch, we still had like big project like PackMoon and stuff, but it didn't work because we didn't saturate Blast and because the hype was on I don't know, Fantasy Top or the points or gold, whatever. I don't remember. They were doing an airdrop campaign. So it didn't work. We still retried it on Base, and we've redone the same mistake, which is we closed like, I don't know, 5 teams, projects, but it didn't work. Like nobody heard about us. Yeah, it was really limited success. So we could have fixed it, I think, and relaunched it in a better way. But instead, what we said is at the time, a lot of teams were spending a lot of money to get attention. And again, the crypto natives, it's not so many people if you think about it. Like those people, they have a lot of value on their wallets, so they're valuable, but it's not so many people. And on the other end, you have many, many teams who've raised millions, who pay a lot of bucks, influencers and stuff to get attention. So you cannot buy your go-to-market. Like this is another lesson. Um, it's not just money. You need to find a smart way to hack attention, and it's gotta be unique to you, to your project, and to timing. Like there are trends. We can talk about that, but so that's another lesson. Like because back then we had some support from, because Starknet had launched the Stark, so we had more financial support. We also raised some 2 millions from VC, and yet we failed. It was not a money problem. It was a creativity problem. It was yeah. So this was a failure. What we decided is to say, okay, you know what? Everybody is fighting for crypto natives, but what we want to do is actually help actual students, like not just crypto native, actual students to be more productive and to block their phone. And so what we said is like, okay, you know what? Let's try to get students that are not into crypto. And then, because Starknet is so powerful as an infrastructure, we can educate them later and they can actually transact on chain without knowing it. And we can, it's like a funnel. We would be the gateway to them. And little by little, they would understand how it works, how to DCA into Bitcoin, how to generate yield, etc., etc. So we decided that summer 2024, and we had to modify a lot. So first lesson is we launched Focus Tree with ads in typical channels, where Web2 people would be. And all the metrics went to zero almost. Why? Because for more than a year, we've been optimizing a product for crypto native. And without realizing it, we had pivoted our audience. And it's a huge pivot. It was the same problem, but it was not the same people using the product. And the product was not working anymore. Another reason why it was not working is on the first launch, people would refer their friend. It just grew organically. So when your product grows organically, you don't need a proper onboarding. Why? It's because if your friend invites you to Focus Tree, it will explain like, hey, you need to put your tile like that, and it will explain everything. But if you see an ad and you download an app, you need an onboarding because nobody is explaining you how it works. So remind that. It's another lesson learned. If you don't grow through word of mouth, it's very important to have a proper onboarding. Yeah. So yeah, in the Q4 2024, big failure again. We launched Focus Tree with Web2, just big fail. And then for the past 6 months, we've been iterating on the product to optimize it for Web2 people. And now we like 10x the user base. We have more than 250K monthly active users. Same for retention. In the last 3 months, we 4x'd the retention. So yeah, it's fine. You iterate on your product, you improve it, but yeah. Maybe I can explain also how we grew in the last phase. Sorry, I forgot about that. So once we fixed the product, we said, okay, where are the students? And actually, the students are on TikTok. That's the whole point of Focus 3 is to not go on TikTok, but which means like students are on TikTok. So what we did is we tried to understand like, okay, how to get them to download Focus 3. Like they're on TikTok, how would they download Focus 3? So the idea was we started to create accounts ourselves with my co-founder and some investors. We had one in South America, one in Europe, and one of our investors was in New York, so we would get like global exposure. And we all bought a spare phone, a spare SIM card to not bias the algorithm of TikTok, because it's really very good to understand that you're actually not a student and you have another account. We did that for 2 weeks, and we got 300 views per video. It was really bad. We had no downloads. It was a complete failure, and it was very embarrassing because one of our investors were actually annoyed every day to put out the videos. But so we realized like, okay, maybe we don't use TikTok as personally, so we don't understand the code, but we have money. On the other end, there are millions of students who use TikTok on a regular basis. They are really good at understanding the trends, but they don't have money. So the idea was to basically use like to ask some students to create videos for us and post it. And the way we would do it is we would not ask like big influencers on TikTok like you would think. We would rather close like people who have no followers, but we think they are good, and we would coach them week after week to create more and more content. And the cool thing about it is you basically you close them once, but then they're gonna produce maybe 100 videos for you for 3 months, like one every day. So you have a huge leverage because it takes a lot of time to close someone. For example, you're gonna send 100 DMs, you're gonna get 10 answers, and maybe you're gonna close one. So usually you do all this process for one video, but we were doing all this process for 100 videos. So we would have a huge leverage compared to our competitors. And also because those people didn't have any audience, you can think of UGC, we would pay only $20 per video. And ultimately, some of them would make millions. And you can take this number in your head. Usually, 1% of views convert to download. So we were able to get really, really low cost of acquisition and a lot of brand awareness thanks to this strategy. And yeah, that's basically what we used to grow in the past 4 months. Okay, I'm done on this part. Do you guys have questions on what I said?
I'll just make a quick comment. I love these founder stories, especially your story. I think a lot of the most important information that we can glean here as the audience is just what is listening to founders who actually talk about what didn't work more than just what worked. And I think you kept mentioning this, but it's what worked is often just a process of trying different things, iterating. And then my question is, how do you know when it actually works? What clicks that says, hey, this one worked, this had actual fit with their consumer? And how do you push on that a little bit further?
Yeah. Yeah, I didn't explain all of the things that didn't work because the brain is really good at forgetting what didn't work and just remembering what works. So that's a very good point. First, I would say like you cannot predict what's gonna work. Like even after like 3 years of doing that, we have good intuition, but it's never 100% of the time you're right. It would be too easy, right? So you should expect like you do things and 1/3 of them will work, 2/3 of them will not work. Like just expect that, which means two things. First, you need to go very fast to experiment a lot, so you end up on a winning strategy. And second, you need to not burn a lot of cash in your experiment, because sometimes you're gonna invest. Let's say, for example, one of the mistakes we've done is a huge website where like people on base could show like could prove that they would own like this NFT and claim the point in the app. So it was a huge of investment in engineering, design, and marketing. It took like maybe 1 month and a half to do. We launch it, and it just doesn't work. So that's an example of we should better find a way to do it very fast and very cheap. And if we see signs that it works, then we double down on it. And another example of what didn't work is, you know, you remember when I told you like we started to post on TikTok? At the same time, we were working with Nikita Bier on what's called the school seeding strategy, which is famously used by Facebook, Snapchat, and one of the app of like no, two of the app of Nikita, Gazap and TBH to launch, which is you saturate a school during a very short period of time, and then all like 80% of the students in the same school use your app, which creates a lot of value because of the network effect. And then you make sure that your app go from one school to the school next to it, and then it spreads globally. So when you so it's really hard to do that, but when it works, it's basically free marketing and free growth. So we did. So what I did is I bought 5 phones, 5 different SIM card. I had a timer every 10 minutes on my watch, and every 10 minutes I would follow 10 people of the same school. So I was preparing 5 different schools. I did that for months, and we tried to launch one school and it didn't work. And I'm telling you, we did that with we were coached by Nikita. He shared all his playbook with us. But the fact is, the playbook he used 3 years ago, which is using Instagram, and one of the techniques is basically the fact that you can have a lot of followers as a private account, and then when you go public, you send a notification and stuff. So it was very custom to 3 years ago, and 3 years after, it just didn't work because people have different behaviors, because AI is just anti-bot techniques are just so much better. And on the other end, we know another guy called Hunter Isaacson. So he's the guy building NGL, which is a famous social app. And he also worked with Nikita. And same, it didn't work for him school seeding, but he found a way to make it work with TikTok. So he adapted the technique and made it work with TikTok. And but he did it in its own way. So the lesson learned here is, first, this is another example of a big failure of me. A lot of time and sweat for nothing. And also, you cannot just repeat playbooks that you've heard of. Even if you have the actual people who've done it, it's not gonna work for you. You need to understand the first principle and to understand also the time you are in now, like, and also the specificity of your users, of the platforms you use, and to adapt those go-to-market strategies to your use case. It's very important. And for example, for school seeding, I know that at some point I will make it work for Focus 3, and we will do it in our own way, and we cannot just apply someone else's playbook. Yeah. Okay. Dylan, do you want me to go through the Q&A,
Yeah,
and then we can do interactive Q&A where I actually ask you questions and we try to think.
sure. Yeah, go for it. We can We can go in whichever direction the crowd wants to go. So I know that you have a little bit more to talk about. We can answer any of these questions directly. It seems like we have some good questions from Ralph, Sasha, Chilax. Uh, so yeah, we can go through those. We can go through if you have additional parts of your presentation.
Okay.
I also have a presentation, which we can do. But honestly, I feel like we're learning a lot here from you just listening. So if you want, just feel free. The floor is yours.
Okay. So guys, ask your question in Q&A. We just do it like for 5-10 minutes max, and then I will ask you question. We will basically pick one of you guys and try to think like how we could actually use one of the techniques and adapt it to you, and how you think growth, how you think of your users, like just to see in practice how it works. So okay, I'm taking them in order. So we have Leon saying, how would you vampire attack if not a dex? So vampire attack is like a way to basically steal users from another platform uh, and bring them to you. So it's not specific to a dex. It's something you can do like as a social network. Many, for example, in the early days of Facebook, many games, many social networks vampire attacked the social graph on Facebook to grow. So yeah, you can vampire, like if you find a good way, you can steal users. Like a good example is I'm Starknet. I want to get the Bitcoin miners to use Starknet. Maybe I could airdrop them some Stark, and they have to claim it on Starknet. And because they have some money, they would say, oh, okay. They would hear in their circles like, oh, did you know like Starknet gave us an allocation and blah blah blah. So that's an example to vampire attack. Okay. Now we have Michael Rizakov. Thank you, Gamer, of the great backstory. Do you mind telling a bit more about how do you plan to monetize the app in the long run? Good point. That's one of the objective of the quarter, is to monetize Focus Tree. So we intend in the short term to use there's two ways to monetize an app in general. First is premium plans, subscription plans. Second is in-app purchases. So we're gonna do both. But the good thing with crypto is also you can take some fees. For example, on our NFTs, we take 10% on each trade. But right now it's not that meaningful because we don't have a big volume. But yeah, that's the three things we're working on. How big is your team? Too big. So the core team is around 5, but all the people involved in Focus Tree is maybe 15, because we have people like moderators, or I don't know, people who help us track the TikTok views, but they're not like full time. And what I'm suggesting is keep your team as small as you can until you get product market fit. So we've done this mistake of hiring too many people. Curious to know what are your plans and how will you educate Web2 people about the fact that they were in the Web3 all along? So for us, my plan is very simple. Is like to like the value proposition for crypto is mainly around speculation and making money. And the way we want to do it is like some of the users of Focus Trees, they're already earning some very rare tiles. Some of them are worth like between $100 to $500 even today. And we want to show them like, hey, maybe if you sell it, then with this money, you can maybe DCA into Bitcoin, or you can generate yield on this. And we want to educate them to DeFi. So that's one thing. The other thing is we want to do partnerships with other crypto projects that want to launch. Let's say you have a meme coin who's launching, and we have 1 million monthly active users. We come to tell them like, hey, give us 5%. We're gonna make a monthly challenge with custom NFTs that people can earn this month. And in exchange, people will people will earn your coin, and they will have to do a few quests to understand your project and follow you on Twitter. So this would be a way to give some value to our users' blockchain wallets. And then when they have value on the wallets, we want to go on the typical use case of invest in Bitcoin and generate yields. Yeah. I have a French one. Thanks for sharing. Betcher is building a community-driven sports prediction market on Starknet, and I can already see how we can learn from your experience and strategy to acquire users. We would greatly appreciate if you can tell us how we could adapt your marketing strategy and experience to get users on our app. I mean, yeah, that's a good transition. Like, let's keep that in mind. Guys, if you want me to try to think about how to adapt your our strategy to your app, just put it in the QA. So let's keep in mind Ralph for the next section. And then we have Max. Thank you for sharing. How long did it take to get funding from Starknet investors and how hard was it? So guys, raising fund is always hard. It was really, really hard. Okay. We got lucky on the first raise because we raised 250K from one single investor because I already tried to raise fund from a company before Focus Tree, and these investors knew me, so that's why I was able. But 250K for a pre-seed is really, really low, so we should have died. But I think we became cockroach, so that's good. And then we were able to raise 2 million because the timing, it was in March 2024. It's literally the top of maybe this cycle, we don't know, or at least the local top. So I think timing helped. Plus, we had growth in the metric back then. That's after the launch with all the projects on Starknet. So and now. And yeah, along the way, Starknet Foundation, as you are able to show, you can acquire private investors. Because you must understand, like Starknet, the foundation, and Starkware, they're not investors, so they cannot take the risk. They cannot just invest in you because it's a job to do a due diligence, and they have no idea. So what you need to do is first you are able to close some private investors, and then you can come to the foundation and to Starkware, and they will be able to invest alongside other investors. It's named follow investors. There won't be a lead. But correct me, Dylan, if I'm wrong on
No,
that.
that's perfect. And week 3 is also on fundraising fundamentals. So we can get into more detail on how to talk to investors, how to talk to VCs, and overall how to structure a fundraising round. So that's next Tuesday. That's my little shill for Founder Basecamp session 3. We have a lot of questions here.
Okay.
Perhaps we can take some of these questions. Everyone think through some of them. We'll have a more dedicated Q&A session at the end of it as well. We
Do,
can go into a little bit more detail there afterwards.
so do you want to continue the question and then we?
Mm,
Yeah, I didn't get it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
sure. So, I mean, if you guys want to just continue along with the Q&A right here, we can go in whichever direction you want. I think this has been sort of really eye-opening just in terms of like, your insights on user acquisition and growth. Uh, we can build on these ideas. So we can go in 3 different directions. The first one is we can go in a general presentation on here's what a go-to-market strategy looks like, how to actually turn your validated idea into real traction. We can go the second route, which is another presentation. And by the way, feel free to comment in the chat if which direction you guys want to go through. Second direction is just talking about product-led growth through another presentation, which is just a strategy where your product itself drives user acquisition. Or we can just stay along this kind of Q&A kind of session and just flow with it. There's still a lot of questions and you guys can go through
And
any questions for Gabin, self, anyone here as well. So whichever direction the community ecosystem wants to see.
yeah, let me share a small poll. So what is the first option is like you do another presentation, right, Dylan?
Yeah, so first option, go-to-market strategy presentation by me. Second option, product-led growth presentation by me. Third question, Gabin just answers more questions.
Okay. Sorry, second option is like we take an example of someone, right?
We actually have two presentations
Oh,
here
okay.
already. So yeah,
What
the
what
first
what is
one
the
is
what is the second one? I don't get.
uh, product-led growth.
Okay, product, interesting one.
Yeah.
But
So
okay.
it seems like some people are voting one, some people are voting two. All right, let's see. Two, two, one. All right. I'll try to keep the go-to-market presentation quick, and then we can kind of get back to some of the Q&A. And I think that will also help structure some of the questions for Gabon, and we can go a little bit deeper into some of these things. So I'll keep it fairly quick. Let me just share my screen, and we'll kind of go through a more uh, structured Q&A session afterwards as well. Sorry, I'm just looking for the share screen button. Perfect. Okay, cool. So we'll do the go-to-market strategy. I'll keep it to 10 to 15 minutes max, and then we'll just keep it going. And again, feel free to ask questions in the chat. Like, let's keep this conversational. It should be fun, and we can answer directly. We can answer um, through the chat as well. Okay, cool. So this session, we'll talk a little bit about go-to-market strategy. It's, as Gabon was mentioning, it's very critical. It's a step that really separates successful startups from those who never find traction. And I think these strategies will apply directly to your startup, whether you're building in Web3 or anywhere else. So over the next couple few minutes, 10 minutes, 15 minutes, we'll discuss how to actually take your validated idea and turn it into real traction with actionable and practical insights. Uh, so let's see. We'll cover three key areas. The first one is go-to-market fundamentals. These are the core concepts you need to understand. The second one will be tactics and execution. These are practical approaches to implementation. Third one will be actually adapting your go-to-market strategy for Web3. These are just specialized strategies for a crypto project. So each section will hopefully build what you learned in our first session last week on idea validation. And hopefully by the end, you'll have a clear framework for reaching your first customers. So go-to-market fundamentals. A go-to-market strategy is just a clear plan to launch and scale your product. It's how you bridge the gap between having a product and having customers who actually use it. Think about Airbnb in their early days. They didn't just build a platform and wait. Their go-to-market included photographers helping host actually create professional listings, targeted cities during events with accommodation shortages, and they focus outreach to early adopters. And the key difference between a go-to-market strategy and a general marketing plan is that go-to-market really encompasses everything. It's your sales approach, distribution channels, customer support, and operational requirements. And again, your goal isn't to try every possible channel. It's to find and discover at least one repeatable, scalable way to acquire customers that you can optimize over time. And I think there are kind of six building blocks for your go-to-market foundation. We could talk a little bit about each one, but just high level, you need to target your customers and actually know who your early users are. You need to have a good value proposition that actually creates unique value to these specific users. Notion didn't position itself as a note-taking app. They were able to solve tool fragmentation by combining notes, wikis, and project management. Channel strategy, this just means figuring out where these customers are already spend their time, not necessarily where you actually prefer to reach them. So if they're on TikTok, you go to TikTok and you don't focus on Twitter. The messaging framework is really just translating your value into a language that resonates with the audience's specific needs and pain points. You have product market positioning, which shows how you fit within the competitive landscape and why you deserve attention. And then finally, your sales and adoption model, it just defines exactly how customers will discover, try, buy, and actually expand their use of your solution. So the most common mistake I see is that founders try too many things for too many people. Your go-to-market will actually be stronger when you focus the key building blocks on a specific customer segment. So in Focus Tree's case, students. And then just really quickly, a recap from what we covered in our first session about market validation. Ideally, in this situation, you verified that your solution addresses a real problem. You've done this through customer interviews, market analysis, and your validation tests have shown that there's strong interest in your core value prop. And then comes the next critical step, which is converting that actual interest into actual customers. So market validation confirms your direction, but you still need a concrete plan to reach your audience effectively. The beachhead concept on this slide, it comes from military strategy. It's secure a small defensible position before expanding your territory. And I think that your beachhead market should feel potentially uncomfortably small. If your target feels adequately sized, it might be actually too broad for effective early traction. Facebook didn't target social media users, for example. They focused exclusively on Harvard students. Then they expanded to Stanford and other Ivy League schools. And then they expanded to all colleges. And then only later did they expand to the general public. The characteristics of a good beachhead is basically accessibility to your team. There's an urgent need for your solution, and the concentration uh, that actually of the market that actually allows you to efficiently reach them and target them. Uh, I wouldn't worry about limiting your potential market. Again, as we've been saying in the last session, in this session, start small, start focused. That gives you the best chance of genuine product market fit. And then you can expand afterwards. Uh, you can have effective segmentation that goes beyond just your traditional segmentation. Some of this segmentation could be about what they do and why they do it. So you can have ideas focused on exploring their motivations, values, and behaviors that actually drive their decisions. You have behavioral focus on actions and usage patterns. And you have needs-based segmentation that focuses on specific pain points. For your startup, you should be asking what behaviors identify your best customers? What psychological needs drive their purchasing decisions? These are insights that you need to have to predict the customer value better than any other demographic data that you can get. Um, I'll probably try to speed through a few other of these slides so that we can get to some Q&A as well. But I do want to talk a little bit about your unique selling proposition, which is just really a clear statement of what makes your product better and different from alternatives. It shows why your potential customers actually chose you. So an effective USP addresses a specific customer need. They highlight your unique benefit. It's crisp, it's memorable, and it can be validated with real users. So I put a little formula that you can use for your own project. It's for target customers who need something. Your company is a category that with a key benefit. And the focus here is because you have a differentiator. You need to really understand real value that comes from identifying a meaningful difference that matters to your specific audience. And I think a powerful USP solves a specific problem in a distinctly different way. It's not marginally better, but it's meaningfully different in execution and approach. So let's move away from strategy to talk a little bit about tactical execution, how you'll actually implement your go-to-market approach to reach and convert your target customers. Um, you have to find the right channels. This requires actual systemic testing, not guesswork or trends. And this is just running experiments at meaningful but affordable scale. Too small, and your data isn't valid. Too large, and you just waste a ton of resources. So what I want you to take away here is you need to discover where your specific customers can be reached efficiently. You can have a digital channel strategy. These require very different types of optimization approaches based on different types of characteristics. I'm going to skip over this a little bit, but really the most successful digital strategies, they treat channels as communities to participate in, not just platforms to broadcast on. The value contribution actually precedes value extraction in every successful digital channel strategy. We have a little slide here on product-led growth. This is sort of a concept of transforming your product from something you sell into something that sells itself through the user experience. Slack was able to optimize their onboarding to deliver their aha moment. Um, you were able to see messages appear in real time across different devices within minutes of actually signing up. Calendly had this virality factor that made recipients into users without friction. When you received a schedule link, you actually experienced the product's value before you became a customer that signed up for Calendly yourself. So for onboarding, you need to really map the critical actions that deliver that aha moment, the first real experience of value. So you need to speed up time to value by reducing the number of steps and friction. You need to reveal features progressively as the amount of users grow in your app. And then you need to personalize onboarding paths for different types of personas. If you're talking about virality, design network effects where more users actually increase value. This is easier said than done. But what you would need to do is you need to embed sharing, collaboration directly into core workflows, place invitations at high value moments when users experience benefits, and essentially just create two-sided incentives that reward both inviters and invitees. Retention is often more important than acquisition. A 5% improvement in retention can yield multiples higher customer lifetime value. Uh, on these engagement loops, you're going to want to focus on your core usage cycle. The main actions users repeat to get value. You want to design habit forming experiences with triggers, actions, rewards, and investment opportunities. Create smart re engagement mechanisms that actually track user health with engagement scores. Uh, And then I just want to kind of talk a little bit about a few different things. Small conversion improvements, they compound over time. And as you're thinking through your funnel and conversion paths and how to actually optimize the funnel, you want to design landing pages that guide users from problem awareness to solution adoption. Again, as I've been saying, you want to remove the friction by streamlining steps to first value. Place testimonials at decision points and be very open to addressing common objections. Uh, Also, when you want to expand your customer base and expand what your customers are actually providing in terms of revenue, think about how to align your pricing with actual usage metrics that go alongside your customer. Uh, Create natural paths to more premium features, and then also map complementary needs based on usage patterns, and then actually find ways to automate your outreach based on certain signals associated with the customer growth. Both of these elements, they should work together, and you want to make it easy to start while creating natural expansion opportunities as users drive more value. I'm going to skip over this a little bit. This is really just focusing on the fact that Web3 projects really shouldn't be discarding the Web2 playbook entirely. Instead, you should be rethinking where you can iterate on proven approaches while adding Web3 specific elements. Traditional marketing principles like clear value propositions, focused targeting, and channel optimization apply in Web 2, and they also apply in Web 3. The key here is adapting those approaches to the unique incentive structures and community dynamics of Web 3. We talked a little bit about the cold start problem. Maybe we handled some of this in Q&A. But really what I want to kind of finalize here is focusing on some of the key takeaways. Start with your idea validation and a clear USP before jumping into marketing tactics. Focus on a narrow, well-defined segment initially. And this might be counterintuitive and it might feel counterintuitive, but it actually does create stronger product market fit in the long term. Test small, measure clearly, and iterate quickly based on real user feedback. Let product actually drive value and growth when possible, and create natural adoption cycles. And then finally, you should be blending both online and offline strategies for a comprehensive approach. So that was a little bit of a rushed presentation, but I do want to get back to some of the conversations that we were having earlier, because I think what Gabin was saying was extremely interesting. So that covered most of it. Please ask questions if you have any specific questions about Gabon's experience, my presentation, or any challenges. Now's the time to ask. Cool. So it seems like we have a bunch more questions. Let's see. Um, cool. So feel free to message in the chat, and we can answer any questions. Gabon and I can answer any questions that you guys might have. So I think for Daria, please give examples of the projects with a good go-to-market strategy in Starknet ecosystem or Web3 in general. Focus Tree. I think Focus Tree has kind of nailed it in terms of targeting a specific user base, which are students, and going to where they are, which is TikTok. There are many other really interesting projects, I think, in Web3, but I think the kind of core concept of what is a good Web3 strategy is how to actually get past the cold start problem. That is launching, gaining users, and actually building network effects what is a decentralized space. It's challenging because you need users to create value, and then value is needed to create security and so on and so forth. But when you can actually have a good Web3 project, it's focusing on how you can potentially use tokens to bridge the bootstrapping phase by incentivizing early adoption until a real natural network effects can actually take over. Um, there are many projects that have done really well with that, but I think the ones that are doing extremely well have a good token strategy and still take advantage of proven Web2 strategies.
Can I add on this one? Um, I'd like to differentiate two kind of audience. First one is crypto native audience. The second one is the Web2 audience. When you target a crypto native audience, I agree with Dylan, like you should play on the token side. And a good example, you can think of, like recently there was Kaito, for example. Kaito, like most people would try to get yaps to get the airdrop, and that's a very common go-to-market for when you target crypto natives. Is before you launch a token, you can attract users to try your product because they will play the airdrop. And to me, it's the number one go-to-market strategy everybody use. Hyperliquid was the same. Starknet, it was the case. The big, and Focus Tree also, the big difficulty with this strategy is that once you launch your token, you lose the momentum. And if you don't have a good product and a good product market fit, then you just lose your users. So yeah, it's a double-edged sword. And it only works for crypto natives.
For sure. I think kind of just iterating on that a little bit, I think you have to realize that like not every Web3 project is playing the same game. You have decentralized with no token, you have decentralized with token, you have centralized with no token, and you have centralized entities that also have a token, like the VMV chain. Um, kind of each of these different ones that you can map out in the framework needs a very different type of playbook. And I would say copying the strategy of one, for example, if you're trying to copy Starknet's playbook, decentralized with token project for your centralized NFT marketplace, that's just not going to work. So you need to find a different type of strategy for yourself. Cool. So Gabon, I'm curious, like Brahma is asking an interesting question. Can any of the strategies mentioned here be tweaked to verify product market fit? So I guess the question here is, how do you actually determine like what is product market fit and where does the go-to-market strategy actually fit into the holy grail of product market fit? And then
Yeah.
maybe, I'll ask another question on top of that. Once you find product market fit, how does your go-to-market strategy change or improve?
Hmm. So yeah, it's a it's a tough one, right? Uh, product market fit. Everybody says when you find it, you know it, right? It's huge. It breaks everything. But it's also it's not like black or white. Like it's you feel things start to click more and stuff. If you have product market fit, you have cracked distribution for sure in a way or another. Most of the time, it's word of mouth. So yeah, I would say product market fit implies distribution and go-to-market is correct. The other way around is not necessarily true. For example, in focus tree, I would say we're still we are close to product market fit, but we are not there yet. But yet we really have cracked some, for sure, like some distribution channel. So not sure if I answered the question, but yeah, to me it's two different things. Like go-to-market is needed, but it's not enough for product market fit.
Yeah, definitely agreed. Product market fit, there is an element of if you know it, you feel it when you know it. You know it, you have it when you know it. But I also think that there's an element here where it does not necessarily exist on a binary scale. You might have product market fit in a certain sector, you might have product market fit in a certain channel, or different segment. Maybe, taking the student example, maybe it's sophomores in college. But that doesn't necessarily think that you have product market fit for the entire company. But then you have to realize what is actually valuable and why you actually have certain growth within these certain verticals or certain segments. When you figure that out, then I think you can take some of the lessons learned and potentially look to apply them to other segments as well to get real product market fit. Um, Cool. I think maybe we can move on to one more question. What about the second type, getting Web2 peeps from Shrame? That's a good question. I think a lot of people in Web3, they target for Web3 crypto natives, but the reality is there's a lot bigger market out in Web2. So how do you kind of suggest that sort of crypto companies should be looking to onboard Web2 types of consumers as well?
Yeah. It really so that's where we need to take actual example because it's a bit abstract. Like for example, if you, it's really like it's not gonna be the same product. Uh, like the product you're building, like first you need to be clear: do you target Web2 people or do you target crypto native people? They are not the same, and depending on your decision, you're not gonna build the same product. To give you an example, Ekubo, you see the product, it's definitely for crypto native. Like there's no way some Web2 people would use that. So, okay, yeah, there's no discussion. It's definitely for crypto natives. However, let's say the mission of Ekubo is to I don't know, allow people to invest. Let's say it's that, right? It's probably not that. Allow people to invest easily. So Ekubo is a great way to do that as a crypto native, right? It's very cheap, very fast, very good price. However, with the same mission, if you target Web2 people, you're probably building Robinhood. So you see, it's the same mission, same problem, but because it's not the same audience, it's not the same product.
Nice. So I think we might have time for one more question. And feel free, we can also continue this conversation in the Founder Basecamp group chat. There was a really good question by Abu Kiki. Is there a concise KPI checklist of sort to know if the product is fit for shipping? So maybe I can take a little bit first stab. But basically, there is a ton of KPIs that you can use. The reality is, are you getting revenue and are you getting users? There are other types of ways that you can think through certain metrics. You can think through your acquisition metrics, which are just visitors to sign up, cost per activated user. You can think through activation metrics. What is your time to value, which is like the path to their aha moment. You can think through their activation rate. And then you can think through revenue and retention metrics, uh, free to paid conversion rates, what kind of revenue growth from existing customers, your net revenue retention, your lifetime value, and your churn rate. There's so many metrics that you can think of. But the reality is you need to pick the right one for your company. Think about that as your North Star. What actually drives growth and what is the single most important thing for you? And find out how to keep pushing on that. Otherwise, you might get yourself stuck in metric hell. Uh, that's not necessarily a bad thing, but not necessarily the only thing that matters.
And just to add on that, he asked, like, is there a concise KPI checklist before we ship, basically? Like we need to eat that and we ship? No, that's not how it works. It's like you ship as fast as you can, you get feedback, and that's how you get actually those KPIs, right? You like what you want is you ship fast, you talk to users, or you get some feedbacks either because you've plugged in analytics, or because you see people how people use your product, because they leave reviews, because you talk to them, whatever, and then you iterate on that feedback. So yeah.
Nice. Cool. Perfect. Well, we can continue the conversation over in the Founder Basecamp group chat. Uh, Gabon, thank you so much. Honestly, like every time I hear you speak, I just get more and more excited about consumer apps and crypto and what we can do to bring more people into this space. So thank you so much for joining. And thank you everyone to all your thoughtful questions. Before we wrap up, just very quickly, uh, the next week we have session 3 on fundraising fundamentals. And just very quickly before that, uh, homework. Remember, it's completely optional, but the goal here to this week is to create a one-page go-to-market strategy overview that includes one, your brand positioning statement, aka what makes your product unique. Two, a core marketing message that clearly explains your product. And three, a target audience persona detailing who will use your product and why. Put it through the Telegram bot to receive direct feedback on your page. It will actually form a foundation for next week's session on fundraising fundamentals. Um, we'll provide all the necessary information in the Telegram group. But Gabon, can you tell us, close us off? Like, where can we find you? How do we check out Focus Trade?
On the App Store.
Nice. Perfect.
Yeah, guys. Yeah, I'm really, I'd like to know like where I can see all the things that are being built. Like, maybe you could have a Notion database where each like you put all the stuff like what problem you solve, what's your audience, what's your first KPIs. I'd like to see like what kind of app we have like a database. Like, it would be super interesting to me, and maybe I could see if I can add more value based on that.
Nice. You heard him. Pitch your projects, show what you're thinking about, put your presentation, put your homeworks in the group chat, and we'll have you we'll organize some of these things for everyone too. Uh, but thanks so much, honestly. So remember, office hours are tomorrow at the same time. We can go through some more of your go-to-market strategy. I'll see you all next week, and let's all give Gabon a huge thank you for joining us today.
Thank you guys, and wish you best for what you're building. See you. Bye bye.
Perfect. Bye, everyone.